Hello, West Ham Network, it's Holly, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the key areas that are losing us points at West Ham, as well as what we can do to stop this happening and why a system which once got us results has now stopped working. So West Ham have currently gone 8 games without winning, showing that we've got far more of an issue on our hands than simply playing unattractive football or being impatient while we wait for results. But where did these issues actually begin is the question, because during the times where we've been most successful under Moyes, he's got the best out of a very thin squad and we've managed to outscore our opponents, playing relatively defensively most of the time and just taking opportunities as and when they come. So essentially, we've become smash and grab experts. We've been playing on the break without having much possession. But the question is there only so far that this can take you before your luck runs out? And it seems that we're currently finding the answer out to that. Interestingly, if you look across all of Europe's 5 major leagues, only 6 of the 96 teams have had less possession than West Ham, all of which rank 15th or lower in their leagues, showing that we've basically been overperforming massively in terms of results based on the style of play that we've been using. So taking it back all the way to the start of the season for a moment, fans started feeling quite frustrated that we continued to play with this negative style of play. It's something we've spoken about for seasons, but when it had been getting us results, it was obviously a little bit easier to justify it happening. We were failing to hold possession or adapt to suit the world-class players that we were now bringing into our team. But we were still picking up results. We were competing for European spots in the league, which meant that basically we overlooked it. And I know that I, for one, was happy to see us doing well, even if I wasn't necessarily entertained by the riveting style of football that we could have been playing. I kind of overlooked that because I thought, you know what, we're getting the results. This is good times for West Ham. There have been far worse times where we've played ugly football and we've not got results. So maybe it's not the end of the world. However, the problems have obviously come when this style of play stopped delivering the results that we've been needing. And for outsiders of the club, it seems to have only been since the 6-0 loss to Arsenal where they've really started to look closely at how West Ham are playing and about the challenges that we're facing, because it's not just about fans being frustrated and wanting to be entertained. There are also a lot of stats that show the situation that we're in and why it's gone so badly. And essentially, it could be a very, very long way back from here. I'm going to run through these again in more detail, but this stat is basically a damning report from Sky Sports, which came out last week. We're going to take a little bit more of a look at that. But it's not just one area of our game that needs improving drastically for us to stay in the European spots or now reach the European spots and stay there. So Sky Sports released this really interesting article that basically analysed so many different areas of our performances, looking at a range of different sides of our game. So we're going to take a little look at these quickly. So first, it identified the fact that we have the least pressed sequences in the league, which means that we basically allow our opposition to pass the ball around without pressing them, which is obviously a terrible, terrible thing to allow. Similarly, we are also the team with the second most opposition passes allowed per defensive action, and only Nottingham Forest have more, which is the reason that we struggle to gain possession back so often. Now, we're going to take a little look at the number of turnovers as well. We have got the second lowest number, with only Sheffield United coming out worse. Now, the really worrying part is that as well as failing to gain possession back when the opposition have the ball, we're also allowing other teams to attack during the time that they've got the ball. So as you can see in this table, we allow our opponents to have the most progress on the pitch, allowing them to make it 15.3 metres up the pitch per sequence of play on average. Up on the other end of the scale, you can see Brighton and Arsenal, who've been stopping teams from gaining the distance. Interestingly, we do sit only 2 points behind Brighton, showing that, touching on what I was saying, we have been overperforming based on the style of play that we've been playing. And when it works, it works. But when it doesn't work, you find basically that you don't have the ability to hold the ball, get the ball back, press the opposition, and you're letting them just attack you. And it's only a matter of time, regardless of how good your defence were. Even if we didn't have a slightly shaky defence, it's only a matter of time before you can see that goal. So speaking of Brighton as well, our game against them in August is the perfect example of when the defensive style of management has paid off this season. We beat them 3-0 despite having just 22% possession. And this was one, this stat is mental, this was one of 7 times that a team with less than 26% possession has won in the league this season. 4 of those 7 were West Ham. So the fact that we have done this 4 out of a total 7 times in the entire league, of all the teams in the entire league, shows that it's not just by luck that we've won with such little possession. It's not that we've sort of struggled to get possession but really played well. It's that we've actually been doing this by design. There's no way that this happens 4 out of 7 times in the whole league, and every single time it's because we're not trying to hold possession. So we actively look to score goals without intending to hold the majority of the ball. And it had been working, but this is really, really worrying when the goals dry up like they have now, because you essentially have to change your entire way of playing to have any chance for switching that up. Now, the problem that we have is when you've got a style of play, even in hard times, there is a way out. And it's a lot easier to stay patient as fans, as players, to think, you know what, we are building on something and we are going somewhere, so we don't need to worry too much. But when your style of play sees you coming off basically second best in pretty much every area of the game, it's really difficult to see how it can be turned around. And from these stats, you can literally see that we've got too little possession. We're also not pressing the opposition. We're not winning the ball back, and we're not stopping the running at our goal, all of which can only lead to defeats unless you get lucky, or again, unless you cannot outscore the opposition. But we do have players that can score and that are creative, but it feels like that creativity is drying up. So we're in a very sticky situation. So the silver lining, though, because there's always a silver lining is that we are still in a good league position, despite a very, very disappointing run of results. The fear is we're going to keep slipping down the table. But for us to keep building and not start a downward spiral, we desperately need to finish in the European spot so that we can keep our talent, attract more talent, and continue to build. And if this isn't, basically, I feel like this isn't out of reach if we can turn things around quickly. We're actually in an okay spot, and if we can pick up some points and the teams around us don't, there's no reason we couldn't get European football again. But when you look at how we're actually playing style-wise and the hope that this gives you as fans, it's not looking very positive. But there are chances that we can turn this around. And I feel like if we have managed to actually achieve quite great things while playing, quite honestly, like a terrible team, if we are able to improve on simple things like just closing the ball down faster, putting pressure on the opponents, it could make a difference, and it could mean that we can pick up points, even if we have been playing like a terrible team. So the challenge obviously comes with how we improve, because it essentially involves learning to play in a completely different way. You'd think that it would be a no-brainer to close down the opposition as quickly as possible, but when you're told to focus on certain sides of the game, obviously that isn't what they're being told to do. Now, holding the ball is one thing, but we've all seen how much we struggled to turn possession into goals. There were games at the beginning of the season where we were just passing the ball around the back line because we didn't know what to do with it, because there wasn't enough movement off the ball. So there are so many little puzzle pieces that need to fall into place for us to actually fix this problem. So we've got a few major areas to improve on. Then you combine that with needing to close down the opposition, having the confidence to run at other teams rather than the other way around. There is a lot that we need to work on, and time is of the essence, isn't it? So we do, however, the one positive with all of this, we have the players with the ability to do this. We've got many creative players. We've got players that are good at running off the ball if they're actually able to do it and focus on doing that. And it's all about unlocking this again. And it does feel that we almost need a leader on the pitch to just scoop everyone up and say, like, look, we go again. We've got to reset because this needs fixing. Whether or not we'll be able to do that is yet to be seen. But they've got the creativity. We've got players starting to come back from injury, and we desperately need them to start linking up again and turn results back in our favour. Obviously, the easiest way to do this by switching manager. It's the quickest and easiest way to introduce a completely new style of play and almost reset and just draw a line under where you are and start again. But do you think, and I want to know your thoughts in the comments, so drop us a comment with this, do you think we still have time to finish in the European spots if we make the change before, let's say, the end of March? Do you think? Because that gives us just over a month with Moyes. If we were to then swap manager and sort of go again with the players that we have, obviously it would take a little time for them to settle in. Do you think there's time for us to save our European dreams? Because it would be such a shame to lose European football. We've spoken about it before. The spiral this can bring, you struggle to attract new talent, you start losing your best players. It makes it a lot harder. And after a few seasons where we've been doing really well, it would be such a shame, wouldn't it, to throw it away? So here's hoping we can turn things around, because my main fear is that finishing in the bottom half of the table makes it almost impossible to keep our best players. And in the same way that we've actually spent the last few seasons building, all that great work can be undone very, very quickly. But I'm staying positive that it will not get completely destroyed. But currently, the performances that we're putting in on the pitch, I'm struggling to see how we turn that around under Moyes. So there we go. But thank you so much, as always, for watching. Make sure you give this video a little thumbs up if you have enjoyed watching. Drop us a comment as well, because I'm always keen to know your thoughts. And until next time, have the best day and come on you Irons.